Drivers, start your engines!
Yellow's out. Deanna just about outran him. And she busted her ass.
Welcome back to another episode of DJG. No, 3 Wide with DJG. The green flag is out and we are ready to roll 3 wide. I messed that up because I'd never get to say that. That's Jared's part. Today is a little bit different. AJ and Jared are not here. They had some scheduling conflicts. So I am joined today with my parents. Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Ladies first.
I'm Deanna.
I'm Greg. I'm the G in the program.
Yeah. So today the plan is just to kind of talk about how racing became a part of our lives, and whatnot. So my first question for the both of you is, what is your earliest memory of racing? And do you happen to remember the first race you might have watched? I'm going to ask you first, Dad, because I know Mom wasn't big into racing, right? I think that's a fair assumption.
I mean, I watched it on TV with my grandparents and stuff, but no.
Mount Lawn was my first one as a child, which was pretty good. We went all the time. But my first ever was Winchester when I went with you and Jared.
Mm-hmm. That was a good one. So I know you've wanted to race for a long time. Do you remember how long you've wanted to race prior to getting into it?
Probably since I was 12. And then I got married and kept bugging her year after year. And then when you got into it, then I figured, hey, maybe it's my turn.
Yeah. Well, I know that was actually my next question was, you've always talked about that one time at Mount Lawn, there was a car for sale that you guys had saw and you had thought about buying it. What stopped you from buying it before the race? And then tell us what happened after the race when you went back.
Well, I was looking at it while I was racing, and I think they wanted like $1,300 for it. And I talked to Deanna about it, and she said, sure, after the race, go ask him. Well, the guy ended up winning, and then he said he was going to sell it for $4,200. So that kind of knocked me out of the price range.
Right. Moving right along, looking back, I've wanted to race since I was younger. I would say probably 9 or 10. Besides the fact that we couldn't afford it because, back then racing was expensive. Now it's even more expensive. Besides that, honestly, would you guys have let me race? Because that's a question that I've always wanted to know. I don't feel like I've ever gotten an answer to. I'll ask Mom first because I know she was the one that really did not like the idea.
Well, I don't think anybody likes the idea that, hey, my kid is going to get into a car and drive around a track with other people. And everybody knows that accidents can happen.
Right.
Even at Mount Lawn, nobody thinks that, anything bad could potentially happen. But it's a car and, anything could happen. So, it was always a fear and, still is. I worry watching you and Greg race. It's always in the back of your mind. What if something happens? But, it just, I guess as you got older, I always instilled in all of my kids, don't ever give up on your dreams. Do what, makes you happy. And, just know that you have to be able to, work for it. So, eventually when you were old enough to work and you saved your money and, I saw that you worked so hard and I was like, just go for it. Well,
funny you say that because that's not how I remember it. But we'll get to that in a second because that's another question. What did you think about it?
Oh, I thought it was kind of cool. I think then that got my interest of getting back in it. But, I am old. So.
Right. Well, no, you're not right. But so funny that you said that because that's my next question. So I was going to ask you what your thoughts were when I went to go look at the first car that I ever got and then eventually bought it. Now, I'll ask you what your thoughts were then, you know, probably the same that you just mentioned, but that's not how I remember it all playing out.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I wasn't thrilled about it. Like
Right,
I said, I
yeah.
mean, you know, but I was like, you know, I saw how excited you were. So then that kind of made me more on board with it to some degree, you know, and then after watching you race a couple, I mean, it definitely got me more into it. And, you know, then after your one wreck, I was kind of like, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, you just got to go out there and have fun. I mean, it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't matter win or lose as long as you're enjoying what you're doing. And, you know, I see how you like it and, you know, and how much he likes it. And, you know, so I'm on board with that. But, I mean, at first, no. I mean, I wasn't completely like,
She was mad that we brought it home.
She
was real mad.
So I wasn't there when you guys went to get it. I don't remember where I was because I tried when I was coming up with these questions. I was trying to remember where I was at. I don't know if I was at work or school or something, but I know I wasn't with you guys when you had picked it up. But
are you talking the first car? Or are you talking?
Yes,
The first car, it was me and you.
No, we didn't pick it up. You guys did.
No, we picked up. Me and your dad picked up the one that you have now.
No, because I was with you on that one. So what I remember was I was on because I had worked since I was about 13 or 14. Can't discuss what I was doing, but I was working at that age, helping out with family friends, and so I had saved up all my money, and so I got on Craigslist, and that's how I found the first car in Anderson. And me and Dad went to go look at it, and it had like 4 rims but 2 tires.
Yeah.
And it was a piece of shit, but you know, I was dead set on getting this car. And I remember he was like, you know, don't get your hopes up on this, or maybe go look and see if you can save more money and find something better. I was like, no, I'm getting this car. And I remember we came home, and I think you might have been, I know we were in the kitchen. I think you might have walked in and you were like, absolutely fucking not. Like, you're not getting this car. And I remember Dad was basically like, because we didn't get into an argument, but we got into a disagreement. And I remember Dad was like, well, he's worked and he saved his money, so if that's what he wants to do, then let him do it. Although I don't know if you were on board with it 100% either, because I remember you were like, which is a fair point, but you were like, he's just going to have to fucking learn on his own that racing's a money pit. And I was like, and I mean, I knew that at the time, but I was like, I was so dead set on getting that car.
I think another thing too is like, honestly, like we didn't really know what all.
Yeah, we didn't know we were
racing.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't know what to expect. You don't know what all has to go into it, and I think.
Well, I mean, this was right.
That was probably one of the big things too. And then after the first year of doing it, you kind of get to see what it's all about. You know, for the most part, what kind of things you're going to have to do, and you know, it's a learning process. And
yeah.
I mean, we've been in it for
since 2016.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it's still a learning process. And
yeah.
And I honestly thought when we bought the car, I told her, I said, you know, he's kind of like Indiana weather. He's seasonal. You know, I figured that once you went out there that you would hate it. It wasn't like what we see on TV. That was one reason why I said, yeah, let him have it. Then he can turn around, sell it, make a profit, because I don't think you would stay in it. I figured that first or second time you'd have gave up.
You really thought that?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Kind of the same way you think about me, I guess.
I really thought after the first, you wasn't even racing that car at the time.
I didn't even get to race it at all.
No. Which honestly, we were all mad about that, but looking back, it was kind of a good thing because we found out that there were some serious problems with the car. There was frame damage to that car that, man, if you would have got hit in that car.
Yeah. Yeah, we can
it would
talk.
have probably been really bad.
We can talk about that too, because I wasn't planning on talking about that, and I know it's a personal thing that we don't talk about, but we can talk about some of that in a minute. But I remember, I know your biggest thing obviously was safety, because this was after Willie passed away in an accident, and you know, you hear about it all the time. And so anyway, we got the car, and I didn't even get to race it because I had $2,000 saved up, spent $1,000 on the car, and then we put about another $1,200 into it because I know you guys put quite a bit of money into it too.
Yeah.
So I didn't have enough money to save up or to get safety equipment, and then Charlie went and raced it for me that one race. And then I was gullible more at the time than I am now. I think I've learned, and got fucked over, simply put. And, so when we were looking at taking the cage out and putting it in the Focus, which I want to ask you guys about that too in a second, but that's like you said, we realized that car, I mean, one good hit, it could have been,
it probably would have just split in half.
Yeah. I mean, it was in bad shape. So after I get fucked over on that car, what did you guys think? I know we were all pissed off. Well, before you answer that, I do want to say, I think that was the first time I was like, I'm fucking done with this. Like, I don't want to do it anymore. I was over it. What were your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, watching how upset you were because of the fact that, one, you didn't even get to race. I mean, that's kind of what really set me off. Mm-hmm. But like I said, hindsight, it was probably a good thing because of the way the car was. Mm-hmm. And so, me and your dad talked about it, and we're like, this is ridiculous. So we talked about it, and we were like, hey, we have the Focus. We don't really drive it.
I drove that back and forth to work.
I was like, let's just turn it into a
Well,
race car.
I know I had asked it. I was very persistent on asking, and I'm pretty sure I was begging at one point to just let you guys let me basically scrap it out and put a cage in it. So,
and we busted our butts to get that car put together.
Yeah.
To race. I mean,
but it
literally was, like, I want to say, a month or two?
A couple straight.
It was a couple months because
we busted to get that car because we took the roll cage out of the
first car,
put it into that car, which needed some fabrication done to make that cage fit. But I mean, literally we busted, and we knew the car probably wasn't going to be fast because, I mean, we just figured it probably wasn't going to be, what you wanted. But I mean, honestly, I thought you would get out of it after your first wreck in the Focus, mm-hmm. when when you smoked the wall. Yeah, pretty much. And the whole front end of the car was completely shifted. And I mean, at that point, I was like, okay, I'm not.
I know you were
really sure about this because, I mean, granted, you were okay, thank God. And, we always have this rule, between all of us that if you get into a accident, the first thing that you do is you put that window net down so I know you're okay.
Yeah.
And that didn't really happen. So I was, that kind of scared me. And
yeah, and I think the reason that happened was I was shocked. Like, because it was like, I knew a couple laps prior to hitting the wall, something was wrong, but I was like, surely to God, it'll get me to the end of the race and then we can figure out what the issue is. And then I knew the brakes were acting up. And then obviously we find out later that I lost brakes and steering. So I was just along for the ride. And I think I was just shocked more than anything because of how slow it was happening. I tell Jarrett and everybody all the time, like, it was so slow that I thought I was going to hit the wall. And then when I actually opened my eyes, I still hadn't hit. And then that's when I hit the wall. on my life, that's exactly how it played out. So it was just a weird situation that I had never, it was my first wreck. I had never wrecked a car and I was just shocked. And then, I might sound like a pussy, but I did cry about it because I was so frustrated because, I just wrecked a car. And I thought I didn't want to get out of racing at that time, but I thought I'm done. Like, I can't afford another car at that time. I really wasn't sure if we were going to be able to rebuild that car and get it race ready again. And like you had mentioned, when we basically built it up from nothing, I mean, it took us months. Like, we didn't race a full season until, I want to say 2017, 2018, because I think we made it to the last race of the season, and then that following season was our first full-time season. So, but yeah, I mean, so let me ask you this, because this is a question that just popped up in my mind. So if I had said back then, like I did, I'm done with racing, I don't want to do it anymore, because I remember when I got fucked over on the first car, that's what I said. And I think you guys were pretty much like, like, no, like that's not how it should be done. Like, you should stick with it. Like,
well, if
it's
you're
just
going to
a
go
setback.
out, I feel like if you're going to go out, you at that point you hadn't even driven the car on the track.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's like, no, if you're going to go out, I at least want you to go out and decide after you actually race.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like you haven't even. Okay, so you owned a car. Yeah, it raced, but you wasn't the one racing it. So
Right.
I kind of like, if we're going to go in and do this, you know.
Yeah, because I mean, at that point, we put thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, probably like what, 3,000-4,000 at that time.
Yeah.
Into both cars just to get something done. So
And we've always told you guys, things happen for a reason. You might not know it at the time, but with that first car, we found out what the reason was, because the frame was cracked in half and everything like that. But when you hit that wall, and I seen you got out of the car okay, I kind of teary-eyed, because I'm sitting there thinking, shit, how am I going to fix this? You know, I'm new at working on vehicles, and, you know, I know that you come to me to get all that stuff done. So I'm like, oh, great, here we go.
yeah, I mean,
I will say I've learned a lot about fixing cars. So.
Yeah, and that's a good thing out of, you know, being a part of it. But yeah, I was definitely pissed off too, and because it was like, you don't ever want to wreck a car, and I knew, or I didn't know, but I figured that like we were done, and
but the
whatnot.
good thing though is that I do believe that there was like a delay, like, or there was a time span between the time you wrecked the car and the next race.
Yeah.
So we were able to.
I think we probably missed one race.
I don't think we did.
I don't think we did. I
We
think
didn't?
I think we had it done within the 2 weeks, and that's what I kind of like racing out here for.
My
is
poor
because if
tree
you do-
suffered because.
Yeah, your tree sucks, but that's
But,
why I kind of like racing out here for, is because there is a couple week before you race again, so that gives you a little bit longer. And I know you'd like to race somewhere else, but just right now, it just ain't in
Logistically is not possible. I guess I am thankful because, one, it is surprising to look back and be like, you know, they kept me from giving up.
Yeah.
When they were like not against it, but you weren't for
We
it.
wasn't for. I mean, I wasn't.
So I guess I am thankful for that, because looking back, if you guys were not supportive in that moment, I probably wouldn't be where we're at now. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have kept persisting in it and wanting to do it anymore. Probably I'd probably just move on and find something else to do. So I guess I was going to ask you, Mom, because you know you're not in the seat, but you have two people now who are behind the wheel. After being involved in racing for a few years, have your feelings changed at all, or is it?
I mean, my feelings have definitely changed. I love racing.
Mm-hmm.
Where before it was just whatever. Do I still worry? Absolutely. Now I have two that I worry about. But, you know, one thing I do like is I feel like we have made some amazing friends because of it, to where it's more like a family. And, you know, you build bonds with people down there, so that's always, you know, good. And, you know, you meet people and you can bounce ideas off of, and eventually maybe some of them you start working with or whatever. And I mean, I really like that aspect about it. Everybody, for the most part, that we've encountered has been friendly and everything. And I definitely feel like I enjoy working on the cars. Sometimes it's tiresome, but I mean, I do like that part of it too. And I mean, I definitely feel like my feelings have changed, but the worry is still going to be there. And I don't think that's ever going to go away, but
Right.
I mean,
Plus, it brought us all three closer to all together.
Yeah, and you know, I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit. I know it's personal, but so you know, so I guess my next question, because I wanted to ask you, when Dad got involved, did those feelings come back like it was the first time when I first got into it, or were you more comfortable with the idea of him racing? But I'm I'm not too aware of the conversation you guys had. I mean, unless I was there, about him getting in racing. So do you guys want to talk about that for a minute and just kind of like walk through what that conversation, like how did that conversation start and what was that conversation?
Well, I pretty much knew that he wanted to race for a long time. Just wasn't in the plans, I guess. I mean, you got to think when we got married, we were both really young, you know, and then we had 3 little kids. I mean, pretty much stair step, all 3 of you. Just wasn't really in the cards at that time because I told him, I was like, you want to race, and I have 3 babies. How is that going to work? So when it got to the point where we were at, I was like, go find a car. I'm like, you spend your time in the barn working on Dakota's car. You sit back, and I can see it in his face, you know, when we're watching or whatever. It was just itching at him. And so I was like, just go get a car, you know, find out what kind of car you want to be in, what kind of car you want to race. And so he started looking, and we got the car, and I mean, started working on it and got it ready. And it's just hard for me because I'm one person. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to get you in a car, get you out, you know, because you guys race like back to back.
And
So that really sucks.
That's the only thing I don't like.
So I'm getting
Yeah.
you in a car, getting you out there, going to watch you for a few minutes, and then I have to run back and get him in the car. Then I go watch him for a few minutes, but then I have to run back, help get you out of the car. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like I'm not really watching the race
Yeah.
for either of you, you know, I mean, I watch some of it, but I don't get to watch all of it because I'm constantly running back and forth. And
Yeah, and I know that is a challenge because if I can help you, I'll help you. But usually, you know, he's getting in the car, getting ready to go out, and I have to be strapped in and ready to go. So that is tough. I mean, what about you, Dad? I mean, working on my car probably, you know, ignited that passion to go out there and race. But I mean, did you bring it up to Mom, or was it kind of just like a mutual understanding that it's something that you wanted to do, and if you're going to do it, now's the time?
I figured if I'm going to do it, now would be the time. But
I kind of think it was understood. Like we
yeah,
both kind of knew.
I mean, I say, you know, if I'm going to sit here and work on his car, and I work on all your guys' car now, and I'm paying the money to get into the pits, why not get me a car? It ain't going to cost me no more. I mean, I'm already spending the money. Why not get out there and see what it's like to be out there on the, you know, on the circle?
Right. So what made you decide on running the Crown Vic and not another, you know, like maybe a stock compact or anything like that?
Well, I've always liked the Crown Vic. Kind of remind me of my first car I had. It was a big hoopty. And plus I know, you know, I'm fragile now with my age, and those things are like tanks. Mm-hmm. So I figured if to ease her worries, getting in that would be a lot better. But after thinking about it, you know, I'd like to sell that and get me a Pro, but I don't want to upset you.
All that, and I mean, that's a lot of money that I don't think any of us have quite yet. But you did make a good point about getting involved in racing and, you know, making friends and stuff like that and having bonds. It is a family atmosphere, I think. You know, anytime we go to the track, like last season when we first started hanging out with Shaylin and his crew, you know, like now I'm looking forward to seeing them at the track. I love going out there and watching them race, and, you know, we've been over there quite a bit to hang out and stuff like that. So I am grateful for that because, you know, I thought I was going to have a hard time making friends in this, you know, sport or whatever, just because I'm not very outgoing. I try to stay to myself, and obviously one of the things that I need to work on is stop apologizing for everything if it's not my fault. But, you know, I also know in racing, you don't want bad blood with anybody. You just want to try to keep it cordial and whatnot. But
here's my thing about that. Like, the way I see it, as long as you don't go out and be a complete ass bag and, like, purposely try to wreck people or, you know, what is the saying, rubbing is racing? I mean,
yeah,
that I get that, but there's a difference between that and going out and just, oh, you're in my way, so I'm just going to
run you over.
I mean, you don't do that. I mean, and I think sometimes people get, oh, I'm a NASCAR driver. even though I'm at Mount Lawn, and just want to go out there and do
Some
that.
people
and
race like
try
it
to
is.
tear up people's cars. That's what I don't like.
That's the one thing too. You know, I know Jarrett and I have talked about it on or in an episode one time too. You know, I'm like, I thought that people would respect not only other people's equipment, but they would respect their own, so that they're not having to go out there and spend time, you know, making repairs. Like hard racing is fine, and accidents do happen under those circumstances. But some people out there last year, I mean, were just tearing the shit out of other people's cars, and they didn't care if it tore their car up either. And I just don't personally understand that. You know, I go out there and I try to race clean and race hard with what I got. And obviously, you know, we don't have the resources that maybe other people do. So, you know, we don't have a lot of time to go out there and make unnecessary repairs. So it's like, I'm not going to go out there and race like an asshole, but some people are like that. And
Well,
that's
like
one
I
thing
said-
that surprises me.
Like I said, I mean, I have a job. You have a job. He has a job. We work 40 plus hours a week. You know, so fixing the cars and working on the cars is after working on the weekends on top of everything else that we got to do, you know.
Right.
And just to go out there and demolish somebody else's car, you know, or your car in the process, I mean, that's just money that you're throwing out, and then time, you know, if you could just go out there and, I'm not saying not race hard, but just try to do it clean. And, you know, there were a couple of fights last year where, you know, that broke out, and I'm not about that. I don't, you know, I know tempers get heated and things like that, but it's like at the end of the day, you know, you got to go home to your family, and then you got to work the next day. So it's kind of like,
Yeah. Not worth it.
yeah.
So before I get into more personal matters, have you ever thought about getting in the car to race once or twice?
I'm thinking about doing a powder puff, so I mean, I'd let you drive the Vic.
No.
You wouldn't do it once?
No.
Not like you wouldn't even strap in the car and just go around a couple of
Just
times,
practice.
like on an open track?
Open track, maybe. Racing just is, I mean, I really have no desire.
You don't like going fast, do you?
I didn't say that. I just,
I just think you'd be a badass like driver. Like I think you would just be.
You might want to watch that.
I mean, like I know, like no offense.
I know how my road rage is.
No
on just
offense,
regular roadways.
and like mom knows this because I say it all the time. But mom can be a complete bitch if somebody fucks her over, like pisses her off. Like
And you want her in the car?
yeah, but I just think her personality would be great for a driver. Like I think like you like when it comes time to it, you'd be serious or whatever. But if somebody like did you wrong,
She's going to go back.
she'll make a show out of it, and I think that's what like is entertaining. And I mean, not at Mount Lawn, but like NASCAR
As a spectator,
racing.
though, that's what you're looking for.
Right, yeah.
As a
I
driver,
mean-
it's not.
I mean, how many people are really going out to a race, whatever it is, to actually watch racing? I mean, most of the time they're either there to watch crashes or fights.
Yeah.
So I mean, mom has that factor, I guess, that you know, if she was pissed off.
Should be good for the spectator.
I mean, there's been times where like, where I've been in situations and mom's like, I'm gonna go beat his ass, and I'm like, just stop, like, because I don't want that. Or like, you know, when I think it was last year when that whole wreck happened in the Crown Vics, and you know they rolled by our pit and running their mouths, and we all somehow got involved in that, and I had to like pull you away and tell you to shut the fuck up because I was like, I don't want to get involved in a fight that wasn't.
Is that when that all happened, when I was out there on the track?
This was
Before?
this was when Chase was driving.
Okay. So it's before I started racing.
Yeah.
Well, my whole thing with that is.
But I get it too. I get where you're coming from. Like if somebody's gonna run their fucking mouth, I mean, you don't expect not to get it back or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're sitting there running your mouth, and I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
yay, we got it. What I mean, shut up.
Right. But
You
I love
know,
that attitude though.
And it just kept going, and I'm just like, you know, I was like, seriously, just stop. And then
Yeah.
that's when the person turned to me and was like, you want to come down here? I'm like, I'm standing right here. If your fat ass can make it up the hill, let's go.
Yeah, and
I
see,
mean-
me and mom have very similar attitudes.
Yep.
So like once like we get pissed off or somebody wants to say something to us, it's hard to get us calmed down. But I think, you know, I was the one that was like, it has nothing to do with us. Like, let's just keep our mouth shut. And like, I had to pull you up to our like up our hill because I didn't want you to get involved.
And this is why I stay in the barn until 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning.
On my behalf, I wasn't getting involved. I was just simply saying, stop, because all you're doing is you're trying to start something.
Yeah, I mean, like the wreck already happened. It's over.
You're just making an ass out of yourself at this point.
Really, there are kids around there. I mean, because there are kids in the pit. I mean, just you're trying to start a fight. You won.
No, they didn't. They were on a flatbed.
Well,
that's what that argument
the one
was
who
about,
wrecked didn't win, obviously, but
a
member of their team still did.
That's right.
So it was like, and I was like, okay, we get it. Just stop.
Right, just shut the fuck up.
And then she was, well, F you, and da-da-da. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
I'm like, you're mature. Congrats.
See, that's what I
and, and she just kept running it. And, she was like, won't you come down here and do something? I was like, well, if your ass can make it up this hill, let's go.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the one thing I love, but I also hate so much about you is like, if somebody wants to try to fuck with you, like, you're not going to back down and just be like, oh, okay. But sometimes, like,
let it go.
Let it go, and you can't. I'm like, stop running your mouth like it's over with, or like, I'm just like.
So I guess the comment when she came back, lifting the trophy up and down, me making the comment about why you tried doing squats or see Jenny Craig probably was not appropriate.
Probably not. Like, see, yeah, and I'm just like, I love it because like you don't let anybody fuck with you or your family, and I respect the hell out of that because I'm the same way. But like sometimes I'm just like, let it go, and it's like you cannot let it go, and I'm like that too sometimes where I'm like I'm pissed off for hours, but I'm just like it had nothing to do with it.
Honestly, I wasn't even mad. It was more like, you're making a fool of yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's comical. So just stop. And so
but I
wasn't even mad. I was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and I'm like, I'm just afraid, not afraid, but like, I'm really hoping that we don't ever have to get in a fight with anybody because, when that big brawl broke out, I didn't know where the hell you guys were.
I was
literally went and talked to someone over in the stands, and
I remember being like in the middle of it, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? So I went and stood by, at the time, Rodney, because I knew nobody would fuck with him, and I was like, I'll just stand by him because, but there was like 20, 30 people swinging on each other.
It was awful.
And like, it just like, I got in the middle of that, and I remember somebody coming up and running at me, and like he had his arm cocked back, and I was like, I have nothing to do with this. Like, what the fuck is going on?
When we saw it, we literally like took off running because I was like, we knew that you were over there by yourself.
Because I mean, it was right by our pits.
Yeah.
Like where we park at.
And that was just ridiculous.
Yeah, because there's people in the regular stands coming over into the pits.
Yeah, they were rushing the pits. I mean, from the other side. And
it was
just like ridiculous. I mean,
I thought I was going to get hit, and I thought I was going to have to get involved because, like I said, that guy ran at me, and I was like, what's going on? Because I didn't know anything until after the fact.
And that's the kind of behavior that I think is kind of ridiculous. I mean,
well, rumors have it was pre-plotted with another track. So
right, I mean, like I said, I didn't know anything
either way,
about it until after.
It was ridiculous.
Like that's the stuff that I don't like seeing happen because it's like, we're here to race and have a good time and whatnot. I mean, do we really need the fucking fighting? I mean, sometimes it's sometimes it's comical. Like I enjoy watching a fight or two, but like that was just unnecessary.
Yeah, and again, like I said, there are kids in the pits.
Yeah, I mean, like that one year that like somebody got in trouble and almost got his ass whipped because he almost ran over like 3 people, including a child. Yeah. I mean, it's just like stupid shit like that is going to be the reason why. We won't be able to race if that's. But I
think too, parents, if you have your kids back there, you need to make sure you're watching your children and not letting them run around because these cars come off the pits and and I'm like going and
like I don't go very fast, but I know a lot of people do probably speed through there, and like there have been times where people like will not look and just walk out in front of me, and I almost hit them, and I'm like, you're fucking stupid. Like pay attention. So, I mean, it's easy for kids to get lost and run off and if you're not paying close attention. So, it's like, I'm honestly surprised nobody's been hit back there that I know of. But, well, I guess with all that being said, I want to get to something a little bit more personal. We don't have to go into all the details, but I was going to say personally growing up, I don't think we were very close. I mean, I was probably closer to you than you. But that was
all of you guys are closer to your mother than me.
right. And we can explain why, but I mean, you've said it earlier. I mean, would you both agree that racing has brought us closer anyway? I mean, cuz we're all close now.
Right.
Like we're all close with each other now, but do you think racing has played a part in bringing us three closer?
I think yes, because it gives all three of us something that we can go do together. Mm-hmm. I mean, the other two still come and support us and help out.
Right.
I think too, just the whole y'all have grown up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I was going to say, like, you were working a third shift factory job, so you were never home.
Yeah.
And I think if we did see you, it was only like 5-10 minutes before you either had to leave or we were off to school.
Yeah.
You worked in Indy during the day, and then eventually you would work from home. But I just don't remember. And then like we did stuff on like the weekends. I do remember vividly like doing all that as a family. But I think your guys' jobs, maybe not so much yours, but I mean yours.
Yeah.
Was just hard.
Well, and I think
I was working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Well, and two, like I said, you guys were younger, so
Yeah.
I mean, everybody hates their parents when.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll get into that. Like, I know, like, looking back, I'm so ashamed of like how I've treated you guys because
You still hate me
no, I don't. But
because I left you at school.
yeah. So So Dad would always not. I don't know if it's. I don't think you forgot. It's just like you were super tired, and
I fell back asleep.
yeah, you would fall back asleep, and so I would be at school because this was kindergarten, and I'd be at school for a couple hours longer than I should have been, but I got to hang out with Carol, so it wasn't
Yeah, right.
terrible. But and she's like, "Oh, your dad forgot you again, huh?" I'll give him a call, but I don't blame you for that. It's just a funny joke, but I mean, I don't remember a lot of times where you were around longer than 5-10 minutes unless you were off, and then like I said, you were working in Indy until they let you work from home, and then at the same time, that was around the time that I really wanted to get into racing, and you all were like, no. And I wouldn't say we were rich back then, but I mean, being poor wasn't, and like, because as a kid, I don't remember ever being like, oh, there's anyone that I went to school with that wasn't kind of in the same income bracket we were in, because like you guys had pretty good jobs.
Yeah.
And then 2008 came around and you took a buyout, and then shortly after that you lost your job. You got laid off because of the recession, and then we were fucked. But I guess like having, I don't want to say I'm spoiled, but like having the lifestyle where we could go out and do stuff all the time and everything like that, I really, as a child, could not understand why I couldn't race, because that was like one of the things I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then obviously, you both lost your jobs because of the recession, and then it got to the point where our lifestyle changed drastically, like overnight, because we couldn't afford to go out and do stuff anymore as a family. We would eat out, once a week, twice a week, and then that changed. And as kids, we didn't understand that. We were like, why is this happening? Whatever, why can't? Because I remember a lot of times, I do remember you guys saying like, we can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And we would always ask why, and we just, I don't think we really understood it. And then, it got to the point, where we almost lost the house. And I remember you jokingly said like, oh, well, we have a camper to sleep in if it comes down to it. I mean, it was bad. I was worried, that we would lose everything that we had because of it. And then, but I guess the good thing out of that was like, you were home more often until you went back to work. So, and then you went back to school and became a nurse. So, but then like puberty, I was an asshole. I was also getting bullied. So like, I was miserable. Like I hated my life.
Everybody gets bullied.
Right. But I'm just saying like, I didn't handle it well, and I hated my life, and I was like super depressed. And, I know I said I hated you guys and all that. And I know like we got into some pretty nasty fights and arguments and stuff like that. But, and then I was always like, I want to race, damn it. And like, why can't I do this? And I was like, that was one thing that pissed me off too. Cause I've always wanted to do it. And it always seemed like the universe would be like, why watch these other people race, but you can't do it because you suck. You know what I mean? It's just like stupid shit like that. And then,
But I think it came to you at the time that it was right to come to you.
Yeah.
Because I think that there has to be some sort of maturity level too. And so I feel like instead of us giving you the car and doing this and doing that, I mean, you honestly had to work to get your car. So to me, that made you have a little bit more pride in the fact that, you know, hey, I bought that car.
yeah.
Because at 15, you didn't know how to drive a stick shift either.
Right. Yeah. And then, like, you know, I'm not saying racing is everything that brought us together, but, you know, I finally would say I grew up and matured a lot and realized, oh, I was a fucking asshole to my parents. And like I said, I still feel bad for that. You know, like the things that I would say to you guys and the stuff that happened. But, you know,
Kids are kids.
yeah.
Yeah,
were
they're all
kids
little
once.
fuckers.
Yeah. And now it's like, you know, I think our relationship is a lot stronger, and, you know, I obviously love you guys a lot. And I think it doesn't help that, you know, besides Grandpa Clark, I think we're the only people that we have. So I think that also plays a little bit into that as well. But yeah. But I would say that racing has brought us closer together, us three specifically, because, you know, we're spending time at the track. We're, you know, we just started a race team together. You know, we're out in the barn, you know, doing shit. So
Now, if we can just get your hours changed so you can spend more time out in the barn with me and her.
yeah, it'd be nice. So moving on from that, because that was pretty heavy. I wanted to ask you, Dad. Well, and I'll ask you this too. I wasn't going to ask you this, but I'll ask Dad first. So when you strap in, is there anything that you think about before your race? Like anything in general?
No, not really. Just make sure that, you know, before I strap in, to make sure that I don't have to go to the restroom, because I'm still worried about that. But
See, my answer is, because I have an answer for this. I think about it a lot, and I don't tell anybody about it. But it's hard for me to talk about. But I'll let you answer this question too. Like, is there anything that you think about, or anything that goes through your head, like when either of us are getting ready to go out?
I mean, I don't think of nothing like, oh, this could be my last ride. I
No,
don't think
no,
nothing
that's
like
not my
that.
answer either. Jesus, oh my God. I mean, I cope with dark humor, but I've never thought about that either.
No, I just always tell you guys, you know, I love you. Be safe, race clean, have fun. Most importantly, have fun. You know, go out there and just do what you do. And I mean, that's all. I mean,
That's all we can do.
all you can do. I mean,
Yeah, so when I strap in, usually I'm thinking about like how I think the race is going to play out, like, you know, hope that it's fast. But then like sometimes, this is stupid, but sometimes I'll think about Grandpa Peck, because I remember growing up, I always told him that I was going to race and that, you know, that's what I wanted to do. And I think he was really supportive of the idea, at least I remember. And like, I always told him like, oh, I can't wait, you know, till it happens, and you're going to go out there and see me. And obviously that never happened. So that's pretty tough. Oh my God. That's pretty tough, because I'm like, you know, what would he think being able to see me now?
I think he'd be proud.
Yeah. It's just really hard. Like, that's what I think about too. I'm just like, you know, he got really sick, and I'm like, he never got to see me. We always talked about it, but he never got to see me do it. So I'm always like,
And I think he still sees you. You can't see him seeing you. You know what I'm saying?
and that's like one of the things, like, I've never told anybody that, because I'm just like, I mean, obviously you guys knew,
Yeah.
in a way, but like, you know, he was my best friend, and he was always there for me. And, you know, I always wanted you guys to see me race, because growing up, I was like, by the time I get to race, they're going to be like old as hell, you know, like, because
We are old as hell.
no, but like,
Well, and your grandpa kind of put you in this situation when he had all the go-karts and four-wheelers out here, and we was out there racing all the time. That really didn't help matters.
right. But I just thought like that's how long it was going to take to get into racing. And then, like, you know, I'd always talk to him about it, and like I said, I think he was supportive of it, but I was like, oh, well, you know, because he would also be like, oh, that ain't never going to happen, like joking around. And I'm like, oh, well, you wait and see. And then, like I said, he got sick really bad, and he never got to see it. So I think about that sometimes, because I'm just like, I wish he was there for that.
And he is, like I said, just in a different way.
Yeah.
But not to change the subject, but I have always told you too before you all race, if you have a gut feeling, always go with your gut feeling.
Yeah, well, okay, you want to talk about that,
And
but
you're real bad about that before a race too.
I mean, that's one thing that I always tell you to before a race, you know.
If you don't feel like it.
If you're not feeling it or something feels off, go with your gut feeling because there's probably a reason.
yeah. Well, I know that I don't remember, it's a blur now, but after I came back from the wreck, I was pretty nervous to get back in the car. I'm not going to lie, because I was like, you know, what if something like this happens again? And I think it was the race that I came back from the wreck. You know, I think you didn't connect the throttle back or something. So like my gas pedal hit the floor, and I remember pulling off the track and it finally stopped. But I was like, I thought for sure like my throttle stuck.
Yeah.
Thankfully it didn't. It was just, it wasn't reconnected, and like the car was slowing down. So I was like, okay, it's not a stuck throttle. But at first I thought that's what it was, because I was coming to a short turn and I think I just peeled off into the grass. And then I remember when we got this car, I did not, because it's a manual, it's a stick shift, and I at this point I have driven a stick before, but I was like, I don't know how this car works. You know, I've never been in this car. I don't have much track time in it. I don't even think we took it to the track to test it.
I think we did maybe once or twice.
Maybe once or twice. Yeah. So not a lot of seat time in that car.
No.
And I remember being nervous, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. You know, I think I want to get some more seat time. And you guys were like, I think you guys were trying to push me to just go out there and race and see. And if you don't like it, then pull off. And I was just like, I don't think I made up my mind until like 5 minutes before the race was supposed to start for my class. I was like, all right, I'm going out there and doing it. And then I think I remember you saying, like, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. But
I just said, get at least one lap in. That way you at least get a purse.
Yeah.
Get your money back.
Yeah. And, like, I am surprised that, like, none of my cars have been super fast. But I also don't cheat and you know, whatever. But I'm impressed at how, like, not to, like, sound cocky, but, like, I think I am a pretty good driver.
Yeah.
I think that, like, you know, if I had good equipment, I could, you know, be a lot better. But I am surprised about that a little bit. I always thought that, like, I would suck at it or whatever. But, I mean, I've had people tell me, like, you know, you're pretty good.
Yeah, if we can get you to find a way to get you to come out of that short turn quicker than what your car can do, I mean, you'd be upper with them.
Right.
I think that there's your only spot. Because going into it, you can pass a couple guys, but then when you're coming out of it, there's people passing you.
Right.
There was one, I remember, I think it was this past year. There were, I don't even remember how many cars. There were a lot of wrecks. And you came flying around the corner, and I'm just like, oh my God. Because all we could see from where I was standing was a big dirt cloud. Mm-hmm. And here you come, and, you know, they wreck, and there's this big dirt cloud, and I'm like, he's not going to make it through this. Like, he's going to be involved. And somehow you managed to maneuver that car in between.
Yeah, but that wasn't even the race. That was practice.
Whatever it was. And I was just like, how he managed to make it out of that.
That's iRacing, baby, because because that wasn't even the race. That was practice, because I remember like 5 to 10 cars didn't even make the feature because they got wrecked out in practice. Yeah. And I remember, I think one car came across this way. I almost hit them, slowed up a little bit, and then I sped up because they came right back up the track, and whoever it was took out like 2 or 3 more cars. And then a couple laps later during practice, pretty sure one of the same people involved in that first wrecked somebody on the front stretch, and I almost got involved in that too. So yeah, that wasn't even the race. That was practice.
Like I said, whatever it was, I was like, because he was standing there, and I was like, I'm like, oh my God, he's not going to make it out. Mm-hmm. He's gonna get in it. He's going to hit somebody. And next thing I know, because like I said, we couldn't see where we were at. You had managed to go in between them and came around. I was like, how did he? I mean, honestly, miss that? I'm like, I give credit to iRacing for my skills to avoid wrecks, but I also didn't think I was going to make it through. And I was like, this is a brand new fucking car.
if somebody hits me, I'm going to be pissed. Now, I haven't wrecked the new car, thankfully, but I did rear end somebody. We were coming back to the green flag, and I think they either stalled it or the car just died, and there was somebody behind me, and then...
I think it was kind of like a train.
Yeah, somebody was in front of me. They swerved, and before I could even realize what the fuck happened, somebody hit me from the back and then pushed me into the car that stalled. And I remember I had some front end damage, and I pulled in because I was like, it didn't sound bad, but it was handling a little weird. And I was like, something's fucked. Like, I thought maybe I blew a tire, or it was just pushed so far up that we were done. I remember pulling in. I was like, check the car because I don't know what's wrong with it. And thankfully, I was able to go back out there, and it wasn't too bad. It was just, the hood.
I think the only problem we had with this car was this year when...
Caught fire.
Yeah, that too.
And then I had to make a run to Rushville.
Yeah, because that was Labor Day weekend. That was the back-to-back racing.
Yeah.
So it was like Saturday and Sunday. My car caught fire Saturday for whatever reason.
It was the starter, wasn't it?
Well, it was actually...
the starter caught fire.
The head gasket...
we think we fixed the issue.
Leaking
but
oil, and it was going onto the starter. And
but I ran to Rushville to get...
Because the car, I remember the car like sputtered, and then I was trying to get it to restart, and then it finally just died. And so I was like waiting for like the track crew to come, because the reason why they're so heavy on don't get out of your car unless it's on fire is because of me. So everyone at Mount Lawn, I'm so sorry. No, it was because when I hit that wall, the car was smoking, and the first thing I thought of was to get out because I didn't know, and whatever. But because they've been heavy on that rule since then. But so I just sat there and waited. I was like, oh well. And then somebody's like, your car's on fire, and that's when I jumped out. And then the next day, that's when you ran across 3 counties to go find a starter, and I didn't think we were going to make it because that was, I think we had like about an hour or two.
You missed your practice, I think.
You missed your practice. I got it back, and then
you qualified.
You and Travis,
Travis and Shaylin,
and all them.
Like, people were like working on this car to get it knocked out. I didn't think we were going to make it. I'm surprised that we did. And then obviously we were still having issues. I had to pull off early because the car was smoking like a motherfucker. Yeah.
That's when it was a head gasket.
Yeah. And I honestly thought it was because usually I run in third, and then I was like, I'm going to run it in second and run this bitch. And I thought maybe that's why it was just like an overheating issue. But like I said, I hope we got that problem figured out.
Yeah, me too.
So my next question is, so people that may not know, I'm 1/3 owner of this team. You guys make up 1/3 basically, and then Jarrett. Since forming this team, what are your expectations for this race season, and do you have any expectations for the future? Like, do you think this is, something that's going to last a while, or what?
I would like it to, as long as we can keep the cars healthy, no major issues. But I'm kind of worried on the, depending on how many Crown Vics are going to be out there this year.
Right.
My biggest thing is just have fun. When it stops being fun, then it's time to call it quits.
And that's what I've always said too. When I stop having fun and it just becomes a burden or whatever.
I mean, honestly, I would like to see you move up because I know that's what you want.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, there's a lot more that I think we're learning that goes along with the wars.
Because we're not like everybody else that has a mechanic crew to come in and work on things when we're not around. We're doing it ourselves.
Right.
And two, the traveling, I think, with the
logistically is
4 series is, I mean, obviously we can't pack up and go to Florida or not
unless somebody wants to sponsor us.
Ohio is one thing, but like, I mean, they travel everywhere, and I mean,
right,
with having jobs and this not being a career, it's more of a hobby as how I look at it. I mean,
it's a weekend career.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I would like to see you get a faster car, a better car. Now that
I think if we
have been
more money into it, we could obviously make it faster. It's just,
I think you'd be better off spending that money on a different vehicle than to keep adding to this one.
I mean, I might keep it just to like strip it down like Kyle did.
What are you going to do with the Focus that you still got?
I asked, all right, side topic. We went golfing yesterday. Yeah. I told Jarrett my golf cart was fast. I was like, damn, I really want one of these. He's like, trade the Focus for one. I was like, you got a good point. I might just do that. But, yeah, I mean, like my expectations for this season are just to go out there and have fun. Obviously, you know, we still have time and obviously, you know, opportunities to make improvements throughout the season. So I would obviously like to continue learning to make the car better and faster. But like you said, like I want this to be not necessarily a career, but something that, because like this is all I have going for me right now. So, you know, making it more of a legitimate team structure and things like that, and obviously moving up and whatnot. But
I think it'll get there. I mean, I think it will.
I mean, I don't know where it's going to go, but
it's constantly a learning process. I can tell you that.
And things continue to happen in the wrong way for me as being the garage guy with now our issues with our car trailer, but we're getting that worked out.
Right. All right. So this question is more about the podcast. I guess now would be a good time. I wish Jarrett was here for this part, but I'll tell everyone about the story of the podcast. So since I was a junior in high school, I wanted to start a podcast because I was in English class and I was writing a paper about it was creative writing. And so we got to write papers about whatever we wanted. And always my paper was about racing in some way, shape, or form. And I was writing a paper about how IndyCar can improve the safety of their drivers because Justin Wilson had just been killed in an accident when he was struck with flying debris. And one of the resources that we could use was podcast. And back then, podcasts weren't very big. Now everyone and their mom has a podcast, but which is cool. But I think that was when my first idea for a podcast came up, and then I set that idea aside because you guys know how I am. Like I will be interested in something for so long, and then if nothing happens, I'm like moving on to the next thing.
And that's why I said you're like the Indiana weather around here. You never know what you're getting.
So then, like I set that off to the side, and then a few years later in college, the idea came back around, and then obviously at the beginning of last year, I bought all of this equipment, and then met Jarrett in May and became good friends with him, and then we started the podcast. What do you guys think about the podcast when we first started, and did you think it would last as long as it has?
I think honestly. So. I mean, I think it's definitely gotten better. Mm-hmm. I mean, you went from, doing it in just...
We did it in the barn on a foldable table, and then I had to beg you guys for more permanent of a space, and then I remember we painted the wall gray.
Yeah.
It looked like shit, but I was so excited at the time because like, this is our space. And then obviously...
And then literally your dad built this set in a week, you and him. Mm-hmm. So
in a week. That was shocking too.
The table's shocking. But
yeah. I didn't think we were going to get it all done.
I mean, it's okay. I had to move my workout equipment over, but...
Yeah. So what were your thoughts when I was asking about... So, I mean, obviously you guys have always been supportive. So it's not like you guys weren't supportive of the podcast or anything like that. But when I came to you guys about having a more permanent spot, I mean, did you guys have any thoughts about that? And then when we finally settled on the spot we have now, were you guys annoyed at the fact that I was like begging for a spot and everything like that? And you were just like...
No, because I think
shut the fuck up. I'll give you this spot if you leave me alone. Or
I think we knew that you needed a spot. We had talked about making the spot in the barn. Mm-hmm. But then too, you have to worry about outside elements and stuff.
Not being heated or insulated. Plus, just in case you needed internet or something, that it wouldn't be out there because it's metal. Mm-hmm. And a plus is that's one less area of this garage that your brother throws trash in. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I was thinking about it today too, because I had said like, oh, we need to get a building like that to where we're not taking up half of the garage. But I mean, it's not that big of a deal, I guess, right? Yeah. Eventually, I would like to move out and get our own like dedicated like space, I guess, so that we're not taking up your guys' space. But yeah, I mean, I am surprised, like, because everything moved really quick too. Like we did our first episode in October of 2021, and then March, the last week of March, we built this and debuted it April 1st. And then more recently, we've had AJ join us as a host. Crazy how fast things go.
Yep.
But that's all I had. Is there anything that you guys wanted to add or something that we didn't talk about?
So how do you feel about me driving?
Oh, yeah, that I was going to talk about that. Thank you. So I don't give a shit about myself strapping in the wheel. I'm like, I don't care. When Dad first told me that he was going to get in racing, I was not happy. I mean, I was, because I wanted you to be able to race, and obviously it's something that you've wanted to do for a long time, but it like scares the shit out of me. So like now I know like what Mom feels like
when you're out there.
When I'm out there, but like I guess I'm slowly starting to get more comfortable with it. But yeah, I mean, I definitely was not happy at first overall, just because I was like, because I told you last week, I was like, I don't want to see you get hurt because you're
old.
No, but like you're like the, what is it, like the patriarch of the family. Like we can't afford to lose you if you were to, if God forbid like something bad happened. Yeah. Like we couldn't afford to lose you. Whereas me, like I'm not very like important in the structure. You know what I mean? Like it would be terrible, but
well, if you lost me, you still got your mom to work on your car.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. This is a dark question, but it is interesting to see, like, especially like family teams. There have been, families who have lost their family members in accidents in racing. If that were to happen to, like, obviously me, if I was to like get killed in an accident, do you guys think you would stick with it, or is that when you guys would get out of it?
Your mom would tell me I would not be allowed to go back again.
So like
sell it all.
Yeah, so like you guys wouldn't stick with it then?
I would want to, but I love your mama.
I don't think you would.
I might not, but
yeah, I mean,
try to keep your tribute alive, because I know that's what you've always wanted to do.
Well,
it'd be hard, but let's
hope nothing like that happens.
But if it happened to me, you wouldn't be racing.
No, because you are the
not unless you have another mechanic.
Right. Well, I mean, no, that's a question I wanted to ask, because I know I've talked about it before too. Like, if anything ever happened to me, and especially now that you're racing, like, I don't want everything that I've put my time and effort into to just go away because I'm not here. Like, I think I'd be pissed off if you guys were just like, oh, we're calling it quits now. But
well, if something ever happens to me in that case, and I'm older, I would hope that you would at least sit in my car and take it if you continued.
Maybe not that one, if it was the car that you were killed in, but yeah. That's just, I don't think I could do that.
No, man, it's like you're riding along with me, because there might still be part of me in there somewhere.
But no, I really did want to ask that question because, like I said, like because I've put a lot of time and effort into this, like just like you guys have.
Oh.
So it's like, and it's something that, like you said, I've always wanted to do. So like, I would be upset if if something were to happen to me and then like you guys were just like, we're done. But I guess I also understand, like, it's not something that you want to do anymore. But
okay, weird conversation. Change topic.
Sorry. That's all I have. I don't have anything else really. I think we've covered everything. So, just want to thank you all for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for finally having me on too. I'm always busy, but I took some time off for today.
Well, I think that we're gonna. Oh, I think we're gonna have you on again just because we want to do a pre-race show for the first race at Mount Lawn. So we'll probably have you back. But want to thank you both, because I don't think you were excited about it too much, but
no.
I chained her to her seat, so she's good.
It went really well. So
I hope
it did. But again, thank you all so much, and I will see you hopefully with Jarrett and AJ back next week.